Another factor impacting the assessed valuation and the amount of property taxes able to be collected are tax incremental finance districts. There are several within the Metropolitan School District of Wayne Township, shown here. On the right side of this slide, you'll see a TIF district for Rolls-Royce. However, Rolls-Royce does not have any outstanding bonds on this property, and 100% of those taxes pass through. But in 1991, the Indianapolis Airport Authority was granted several TIFs, not only in Wayne Township, but also in Decatur Township. As you can see from the shading in blue, there's a large TIF district for the Indianapolis Airport Authority in the Metropolitan School District of Wayne Township. The areas on the lower portion of this map are the areas around the current runways and old terminal building for the airport. However, there's a large TIF district that runs all the way between Rockville and 10th Street, including Covance at the north end, Kroger, Verizon, and several other properties that extend southward towards the airport. Taxes collected on this property go directly to the airport and do not go to the Metropolitan School District of Wayne Township or any other of the tax collecting entities within our boundaries. It's important to note that the taxes collected on this property are currently helping to pay off the United Maintenance Facility on airport property. In October of 2012, we were made aware of an additional tax reduction that would have a negative impact on the Metropolitan School District of Wayne Township. This tax reduction involves personal property tax currently paid by businesses and large corporations. Take, for example, Carrier Corporation, located in the M.S.D. of Wayne Township. Carrier manufactures heating and air conditioning units, and they do so with machinery located within their factory. Current guidelines only allow the equipment utilized to manufacture these heating and air conditioning units by 30%. However, discussion in the upcoming legislative session will be whether to eliminate personal property tax or to lift the 30% cap. If personal property tax is eliminated, the impact of the Metropolitan School District of Wayne Township will be $4 million additional dollars on top of the circuit breaker impact already. However, the elimination of the 30% personal property valuation floor negatively impacts the M.S.D. of Wayne Township by $1.5 million. Both of these scenarios will be considered in the next legislative session. Currently, the M.S.D. of Wayne Township carries a cash balance in 5 of its funds. These cash balances are projected through December 31st, 2012. In the general fund, we hold a cash balance of $14.8 million. Debt service, $2.2 million. Capital projects, $2 million. Transportation, $2 million. And the bus replacement fund, $2.2 million. It is important to keep some cash balance in our funds at all times. For instance, one payroll for the Metropolitan School District of Wayne Township is $4 million. You may recall several years ago when the state was not able to balance its budgets and withheld a payment from all school districts across the state. If this were to occur, and we did not have cash balance in the general fund, we would not be able to make payroll. In the same vein, our debt service payments, as you recall, are $23 to $25 million every year. Those debt service payments are made twice per year. So it is important to try to maintain cash balance in the debt service fund. Ideally, we would like to have one payment, or $11.5 million approximately, in our debt service fund in the event that our taxes are not received in a timely manner. Currently, that debt service cash balance on December 31st of $2.2 million does not cover our payment should we have a late tax check from Marion County. In that event, the Metropolitan School District of Wayne Township would be forced to take out a loan, and then when we did receive our tax check, to pay that loan back with interest at that time. Again, a reminder that transferring between these funds is not permissible by law. In addition to reducing our expenditures, there are two other options available for relief. The first is a referendum. In 2013, there is neither a primary nor a general election, and a referendum in 2013 would have to be done through a special election at district expense. The earliest that we could hold a referendum during a primary or general election would be 2014. If a referendum campaign were successful, an additional tax would be levied on the property owners in Wayne Township above the circuit breaker. The second option is to petition the Distress Unit Appeals Board. The Distress Unit Appeals Board was enacted in 2012 under House Act 1192. This allowed eligible school corporations to issue refunding bonds for a percentage of their outstanding bonds, their outstanding debt. The members of the Distress Unit Appeals Board are all appointed. They include Adam Horst, Chairman, who is also the State Budget Director, Brian Bailey with the Department of Local Government Finance, that's who we submit our budget to, Bruce Hartman, State Board of Accounts, that's who audits our books every 2 years, Dr. Tony Bennett, or his designee, and State Representative Milo Smith. During 2012, the Metropolitan School District petitioned the Distress Unit Appeals Board to approve a financial plan for refunding our bonds. One of the statements in the 2012 legislation was that the Distress Unit Appeals Board may not unreasonably deny the school corporation's financial plan. The Distress Unit Appeals Board, or DUAB, has two separate types of petitions that can be filed for schools depending on the percentage of circuit breaker tax loss. The M.S.D. of Wayne Township filed a binding petition and appeared before DUAB on September the 20th and October the 3rd. We are the only school to file a binding petition so far, and we're 1.6% away from being able to file a non-binding petition. Two other districts, Franklin and Mount Vernon, have filed non-binding reviews. The Distress Unit Appeals Board ruled against the M.S.D. of Wayne Township for relief, denying our request. The reason was because of the additional debt that would be incurred by restructuring our bonds. Our petition would have reduced our tax payments for bond issues by $5 million during the next 5 years and add that additional debt plus interest from 2030 on. In their review, they suggested several things for us to pursue. The first, reduced employee compensation and benefits. Second, outsource services. Third, conduct a referendum, and their suggestion was in 2013 if possible. 4, recapture excess AV in the TIF district. And 5, sell property. We've already discussed conducting a referendum in 2013, and that the expense would be for the school district if it was held during 2013, since there is not a primary or a general election. We also discussed earlier about recapturing excess AV in the TIF district. There currently is no excess AV in the TIF district because of the United Maintenance Facility. And the M.S.D. of Wayne Township does have 2 properties that could be sold. However, by selling those properties, that is a one-time savings or one-time revenue generation for the properties that are available, and the current market is not favorable for selling district property. Some additional considerations need to be kept in mind as we move forward in our reductions. In 2017, we will have a loss of $3 million to the general fund when desegregation ends in 2016. In addition, the Board of Education has passed a preventative maintenance plan. This preventative maintenance plan, which is set out just to maintain all of the things currently in our facility and extend their life as long as possible, is $4.4 million. That helps us to maintain the 3.3 million square foot that we currently have under roof. However, in 2012, our preventative maintenance budget was only $2.5 million. And in 2013, that will be reduced to $1.5 million. The result of that is there's $3 million of preventative maintenance we are currently not doing within our facilities, meaning that the life expectancy for many of our systems, our roofs, our parking lots, technology, etc., will be negatively impacted because of the reduction in those expenditures. Two additional areas that the Distress Unit Appeals Board asked us to consider were health insurance and reduction of salaries. When we analyze the cost of health insurance, on the state plan, the state of Indiana pays $10,800 per employee. In contrast, Wayne Township pays $4,815 per employee. The cost for our health insurance is 48% of what it would cost us if we moved to the state plan. Regarding teacher salary, during the last 10 years between 2003 and 2012, the average teacher in Wayne Township received a 62% increase. This was due in large part to negotiations that began back with PL 217 in the 70s, where teachers received an annual increment as they moved down the scale. With the new Wayne Township compensation model and a three-tiered system, the district currently saves $1.6 million, assuming that 1/3 of teachers will move to the next tier in a given year. I'd also note that during that same 10-year time span, the percentage increase in inflation was 19%. So what does this all mean? Well, of course, we know that we need to reduce our expenditures to meet the reduction in revenue. As we always have, it's very important that our community holds the keys to our success. We must work together to strategically determine, first of all, what we value, second of all, where we place our priorities, and thirdly, how do we get there? By putting our pieces together and by putting them in the correct places, we will continue to set the Metropolitan School District of Wayne Township apart as a premier school corporation serving our students. Our timeline is aggressive. Because of the reduction in revenue, we know we must reduce expenditures before the 2013-14 school year. Between October the 11th and December 4th, meetings were held throughout our community. And at each one of those meetings, we not only determined our priorities and what was important to the school district, but also took suggestions on how to make reductions in our expenditures. Over the course of December and early in January, we'll be putting those suggestions all together and answering each one of those with how much savings we can gather from each suggestion. At our board retreat in January, the board will consider each one of those suggestions and put together a plan that we can outline beginning in February. This will be critical to the continued success of our school district and our ability to be able to ensure that all students have the opportunity for success and have all the tools available to help them to get there. Thank you very much for listening. I hope this information was valuable for you, and thank you so much for continuing to support the Metropolitan School District of Wayne Township.